Hello everybody. We have a game with the black pieces against Heel Poi, rated 1151. Um, we're going to try to get a Pirc. He brings out his bishop. We develop and attack the knight. Okay, so he defends the knight. We're going to go g6 and fianchetto and castle. See what white does. Brings the queen out super early. Pretty sure this is not a line. It also walks into knight attacks. But you're going to get stuff like this at the low level because they think that it coordinates somehow. In any case, we're just going to fianchetto, castle, get our king to safety, and then we're going to proceed with actions, aggressive action. So he moves the same piece twice. Not so good in the opening, most of the time. We calculate the captures, and none of them seem like they do much of anything. So we're going to castle. He takes our knight, we're forced to recapture. And this pawn is protected adequately by our rook, so there's nothing here. Even if our bishop moves, there's nothing there. And now we have a great position, perfect pawn structure, and great squares for all of our pieces. We got rid of one knight, so our bishop has a good diagonal, which he tries to blunt. Maybe play d4, put two pawns in the center. He's trying to play principled. It'll also stop both of our knight squares, so it's an interesting move. However, we don't have to necessarily allow it. Although we would like to put our knight here, we do want to also consider white's plans. Think of it all as one shifting puzzle. You're playing both colors, not just black. If you only look at your ideas, you're only solving half of the equation. White's moves are built into the equation. It's a variable. You can't ignore it. But most people do ignore it. They proceed with what they want to do with total disregard for the other side. But what you have to understand is you're playing both sides and you're trying to find an advantageous formation. So knight goes to the edge. Doesn't threaten anything. I'm also now ready to develop my knight towards the center, and it has a great square to go to. So he pushes the pawn, cementing or solidifying his center, opening up his bishop. This gives us all the time we need to improve for free. And now when we take his bishop, it's going to double and ruin his pawn structure. If he moves his queen away from the defense of the knight, we also have the ability to ruin his pawns over here too. So he keeps in contact with the knight, x-rays my king. Maybe he wants some aggressive action in the future, that's fine. However, we're going to get the bishop pair and relieve the pressure that's bearing down in our position. He has to take. And now you can see two light square weaknesses, these pawns, which can become targets later in the game. We just need to get active. So a move like queen a5, which you normally might make in a position with this pawn structure, it doesn't really make as much sense here unless you're going to sack. But I don't see the sack working, so let's just lift it up one. And we can either go here with double attacks or here and force the queen trade and a better endgame for us because we have a better pawn structure. We can also go here. Basically, we're just getting the queen out on the light squares. So he's moving the knight, probably to move his queen and say, hey, I'm going to checkmate you. But is it realistic? No. So we're going to go with our aforementioned plan. We're going to threaten the queen trade, and this piece is hanging. And without a queen, he definitely doesn't have an attack, and all these knight moves are just a waste of time. And we took his light square bishop. He has these light square pawn weaknesses, and we have a light square bishop, right? So that might force him to put his pawns on light squares to defend these, but that would weaken the c3 pawn, and I have a beautiful bishop. So I would say that because of the pawn structure, we have our win condition. And so we can trade into a favorable endgame. So he does go to the light square, he hits our bishop. If we go here, he'll take it with the knight probably. Is that bad? Or is that good? Is that bad or is that good? In a way, I mean, sure, it messes up your pawn structure a little, but in a way it's good. But in another different way, it's bad. So let's go here, the most natural square, looking at a good amount of squares actually. His pawns are on light, so it is somewhat restricted, but it still does look at a lot. And you can easily see it helping if he tries something or if I want to try something. So he moves the knight. Maybe he's trying to go here, which is interesting. But now we can take it. And I was mentioning our bishop is a little restricted. We have a chance to mess up his pawns further for the endgame. So I'm going to do that. And you can see how terrible his pawns are. Okay, good. Now that that's out of the way. Counterplay, what can he do? I don't really see what he can do. He has to somehow push these, I guess. So I probably should get my rooks in the game. Rooks need some type of open file. Okay, let's go a6, b5 and break on the queen side. He attacks our rook. We don't want to give up our bishop because our bishop is really nice here, putting a lot of pressure on where we're about to strike. And his bishop is going to do nothing. So I'm going to swing my rook over to support these pawn pushes. And he castles into it. Okay. b5 it is. And now we just have a great position. We're not up material, but black is just crushing white here. And now we can take with the pawn, keeping one pawn island, the dragon pawn structure. It opens up our rook with a threat. Also, we get b4 in, supported by the rook, the bishop, aiming at the king. We don't want to take with the pawn and ruin our pawn structure and block our rook. We take with the rook, threatening to take the pawn with check. And now we're still not up material, but much better. He attacks, but this pawn's hanging. We can take it. We can also take with check. If he goes here, that's mate. If we go here, we can take that next and threaten mate. So let's start with the more forcing check. Whichever way he goes, we'll take the pawn, and we're still either threatening mate or it is mate. And now we're threatening ladder mate in 1. But don't pre-move it because e5 blocks the bishop's diagonal, and that would be a funny move. Okay, so he goes here, but this is still checkmate. So that was a really good game because it shows you how you can get a win condition just from pawn structure. It doesn't have to be material. And you always hear me say, oh, I have my win condition. So I have the thing I need to start trading. That makes chess so easy. If you don't have the thing you need and you start trading, I mean, it's probably just going to be a draw, right? But if you do have the thing you need, then it works. 1 in accuracy, 14 cents a pawn, 95%. So very solid game from the side of the Pirc. And let's go through it. So queen f3 can never be critical. Obviously it doesn't do anything and it's on the wrong square, and it's kind of a noob thing to do. Hopefully you don't make moves like this anymore. And now boom. As I mentioned in other videos, this is the starting position for most of our lines. And we can just play from here. You have options. You have the c6, you have knight c6, you have bishop wherever. You know, there's different ways to play, but it's not our turn. So he takes. Force move. Center. Development. Knight's going to come behind, so better development. And prophylaxis. Don't just make your own moves. If you just bring the knight out and he gets to play in the center, your knight is misplaced, your pieces are restricted, and he has a much better game and position than if you just play c5. Now he can't do it because takes, takes, takes. And now I mean, that just changes everything. This little move, like, is so important in a moment like this. It's easily missed by lower rated players. It's easily underestimated. And what is the point of c5? It's not really about opening the diagonal for your queen. It's about development. I mean, it's about center. It's about controlling the center. And the point of the center is to maximize your piece activity and restrict the opponents. And if you let him play d4, he's going to have more space for his pieces, and yours are going to have less squares. So it turns the tables big time. So just play c5, get it over with. And now center and development. And black is minus 0.7. They're saying black is almost a pawn better without being up anything and no clear tactics or whatever. Okay, so now we have an improving move for free. And now free stuff, because this is a positional gain. There's not just material gain, there's positional gain. And the more advanced you get at chess, the more you're going to be getting positional gains as opposed to people blundering stuff. Okay, so development and prophylaxis. We're just trying to neutralize his queen and all of his attacking ideas. Just improve a piece for free with a threat on the knight. Force move. Force move, easy enough. Minus 1.4. Not a material, but all clearly better. Okay. And now you don't have to do this, but it's a positional gain, messing up his structure for the endgame, right? So minus 1.4. So it's not like, on the professional level, black would win all the time here. So that's what I want you to get. We're not up anything, but black is still crushing because of how bad white's pawns are. So if you're white here, trying to play would be just a miserable task. And you really would have to play engine-like to have any hope of holding this. So I played this move, a6, which should kind of remind you of, minority attacks, queenside expansion, things like that. You can see the wave is going this way. We need to fill in the gaps. Okay, so force move, who's hitting our rook. And now, improving our rook with a threat on the pawn. King safety, it looks terrible for white. Force move. And now the obvious continuation of the minority attack. They want him to push past so we don't open up our rooks. And then we have to maybe double on the A file or do something else. I'm curious, what is the best move here? So rook a7, yeah, you're only going to do that if you want to double. Rook b7, yeah. So they want you to double, or bishop d4 just to clog the rook first. But okay, so yeah, double like I thought. Anyway, he didn't do it. He takes, so we take, and now the position is completely lost because he opened our rook towards his king. It's minus 2.4, so that's crushing. And then now it's mate in 7, free stuff, mate in 6, and we just make it a faster mate because he doesn't find the best resistance. And you can see, look at this, bishop protecting 2 ladder mating rooks, perfect structure. Simple moves. If your opponents do not play the critical lines against you in the Pirc, all that means is you get easy development, a good square for all of your pieces, and an easy game. Only when they do stuff like, well, they already played kind of weird, but I guess if they go, they're supposed to have 2 pawns in the center. That's the whole thing. So let's say I change it around a little bit, and they'll do something like this, 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 I don't know, this. It's setups like this that you need to watch out for. Not when they do junk like queen to f3, right? as nonsense. And hopefully when your opponents do stuff like that, you say, wait, this can't be right, and then you feel more comfortable. Or you say, this isn't critical, this doesn't test me, I should be fine. That should put you at ease and help you through your game. Anyway, good luck in your chess. See you in the next one.